The Russian opposition activist Vladimir Kara-Murza, who was sentenced to 25 years in a Russian prison for treason, has told the Zinfo News he thought he would die there. Mr. Kara-Murza was a Russian-British national, is a journalist and a documentary maker who's been a vocal critic of Vladimir Putin's regime. On Thursday, he was part of the biggest ever East-West prisoner exchange and was taken to Germany, where after seeing his family for first time in 2.5 years, he talked to our correspondent Sarah Reinford. Vladimir Kara-Murza thought he'd never see his wife again. A week ago, the opposition activist was in a Siberian prison cell and he still can't quite believe he's free. I also love you. At the same time, he was only allowed one call a year in 2 years. I remember I asked at the end of phone call, do you think we'll ever be together again? And she said, I don't just think, I'm certain. As always, she turned out to right. He is one of 8 Russian dissidents released and now here in Germany. The result of a complex prisoner exchange that surprised everyone, including the former political detainees. I was absolutely certain I would die in Putin's prison. Vladimir was serving 25 years just for speaking out against Vladimir Putin and the Ukraine war. He told me he'd spent the past 11 months in solitary confinement. You lose sense of time, you lose sense of space, you lose sense of just everything, really. I mean, it's 4 walls and nothing else, and all you do the whole day is nothing, speak to no one, go nowhere, and this is day after day after day after day. The day 2 guards burst into his tiny cell. He had no idea he was being freed, and they said, you have 5 minutes, dress yourself, take your stuff and get out. And I was absolutely certain I was going to be let out and be shot. Instead, he was part of a swap that saw this FSB assassin released and welcomed home as a hero by Vladimir Putin. To everybody who criticizes this, I would respectfully urge them to not speak or think of prisoner exchanges, but to think of saving human lives, because this is exactly what it was. 16 human lives were saved, and 16 human lives worth releasing. One murderer, once a strong moral voice inside Russia, Vladimir Kara-Murza, has now been forced into exile, and his country is still waging the war on Ukraine he wanted to stop. Do you think you're an internal optimist? Do you think Russia will be democratic and free? I know that Russia will be democratic and free, and that's not because I'm an optimist, that's because I'm a historian. None of us knows the exact way change is going to come to Russia, but I'm absolutely confident that it will. But for that to happen, Putin must lose the war on Ukraine. It is a faith he holds to, even as many fear Russia is lost to dictatorship and dangerous. Sarah Reinford, Zinfo News, Frankfurt.